You're listening to the fourth series of Behind the Rhymes, the mountain we all climb, with me, Maja.
And me, Andrew. City Vistas and Country Escapes. The life you have versus the life you had, measured in sand and gold. All the things you did in a time past. The trick is to make the journey anyway, to make the happiness last. Star-studded parties, shoulder with elites, ambassadors. Now coffee with families, more rewarding, more hearty. Two things in opposite existence, but both existing the same. One from the past, one from the present, but the future, unwritten in any poem or on any page.
Who is this poem about, Andrew, and what inspired you to write it?
So this poem's about you, and you inspired me to write it, and you inspired me to write it when you were talking about your past before you and I met, and the things that you did in the past, and which were a huge contrast to some of the things which you've done since and even now. Do you remember that conversation, those conversations where I asked you?
Well, I remember that you were very curious about what I did, because obviously I come from a different country, so a lot of people assume that people who come from different countries are refugees. This is something that I encountered during the years when I just arrived in the UK. So I was trying to tell you why I stayed in London for 2 decades and what my profession was, but I didn't know that was going to inspire you to write a poem.
It was, for me, it was less about you being somebody from outside of this country. That for me, that's rather irrelevant. Where you came from, it's more relevant of you as a person. So in my poem, I write a line which says, "Now coffee with families is more rewarding." That certainly is how I felt after we'd had that talk about, why the life you have now is totally a world away from that kind of life. And I know you weren't part of those ambassadorial functions or those political functions in the same capacity, but nevertheless you were still there.
I was actually asked quite frequently why I'm not a politician. I was also asked by different parties if I would like to join them, and I always refused. So I would say that it's my choice not to be in these professions that I used to be when I lived that life. It is also my choice to not be in politics. These are choices that I've made consciously. So my life has changed at various points, like everybody's life. Although people who are in one profession for a lifetime may have a more sort of equalized career. They move in the same circles throughout their lifetime. But that, as time goes by, changes. Now people have a side hustle, they do several jobs. So in my career, I've been a journalist, I've been a translator, I've been a salesperson, I've been a manager of people, a researcher, many things. So all of these things bring a different environment, and I'm used to that. So when I met you and I moved to the Midlands, that was very different from any life I've led before. Not just because I didn't work, I didn't have a profession, it was COVID and I didn't do anything to go in an office somewhere, but also because of the location. I've never lived in a very small town. I was born in Skopje, which is the capital of the Republic of Macedonia, and I lived in London, which is obviously the capital of the United Kingdom, as well as a big cosmopolitan city, one of the biggest in Europe. So by definition, my experience was different. Yet, visiting, for example, your mom, your sisters, other friends here, I have an understanding of that kind of life because my grandma came from a small place. Some of my aunts and uncles live in small places. So I I'm very adaptable, and I enjoy meeting different people. So it was very enjoyable to meet your family.
And you find it easy to meet people. I have to say, I've told you that many times. It's uncanny actually how you just tend to just come across people.
I'm certainly comfortable in meeting people. I don't always seek out people. I do value my own company. But when I'm in situations to meet people, then yes, I can engage with people on different levels, discuss different things. I'm curious by nature, and people like to talk about themselves. So just by asking questions, it's really easy to connect with people for me. At the end of the poem, you wonder what future will bring, and you conclude that is unknown. How do you feel about the uncertainty that future brings? I really like these verses, but the future, unwritten in any poem or on any page. Do you see that as a positive thing, that it's unknown, full of opportunities? Or does it have like a wondering atmosphere of what's going to happen?
Sometimes thinking about the future causes me anxiety. I don't think that's an unusual thing for a human being to experience. Of course, no one can know or should know certain things about their life, but life always is presenting these situations, and I've found that you can plan sometimes and plan for outcomes, or you can try and plan for multiple outcomes and waste a lot of time planning for these outcomes, and as a way to protect yourself, but then you end up having a positive result when you've quite often planned for negative results. And I do that sometimes, and I always advise people not to do that, and it's sometimes very difficult for me not to do that as well. But the last part of that poem really is more about not only your journey but our journey as well. It's more about our future, our journey ahead. That, of course, I can't write that. I could, and I love science fiction, I could speculate, I could fantasize what that might be like, but I certainly can't predict it. And I am wary that while you're predicting or worrying about future events in life, you are missing in the time now that you're living in. And I've certainly missed out on things that way through various situations, but I'm human.
It's a learning process.
Yeah, I'm human.
One of the biggest wonders in my life, and I said this at an interview recently when I was asking what was one of the biggest challenges for me personally, was meeting you at the age of 47. I could have never predicted that. So I think leaving space for the wonder that life is gives me comfort actually for the future. I know that, some negative things will happen because life is a mixture of positive and negative things. But I tend to not worry about things that I can't affect. So, I'm quite optimistic in general and about the future and about us. Now that we've explained to our listeners what this poem is about, would you like to read it again?
City Vistas and Country Escapes. The life you have versus the life you had, measured in sand and gold. All the things you did in a time past. The trick is to make the journey anyway, to make the happiness last. Star-studded parties, shoulder with elites, ambassadors. Now coffee with families, more rewarding, more hearty. Two things in opposite existence, but both existing the same. One from the past, one from the present, but the future, unwritten in any poem or on any page.
You've been listening to Behind the Rhymes, the mountain we all climb, with me, Maja.
And me, Andrew. You can find all the poems from this series in my new book, Beyond the Bunker, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Write Poetry.
The book is produced by our publishing company, Anarchy. And if you want to order it, contact us at vonperestproductions@outlook.com.
Where you can also contact us about other things, maybe even including a chat about the state of the world.